right. Good evening, everybody. This is Tim Judge, founder of GreenwichLocal.com. Again, Tuesday evening with the Good News Game Plan with Coach Joe Kelly.
Hello, Tim. Good news and good news only. Here we are again.
That's right. That's right. Tuesday evening. How you doing?
I'm doing good. If you look behind, I got some Easter decorations. So it's good news that we have Easter coming up. This is our Easter show I wore. I used to have an Easter tie, but
Yes.
one of my kids must have taken it, so I went with the pink flamingo tie. It's not really Easter, and flamingos don't deliver eggs or anything like that. So basically, well, they lay eggs, but they don't deliver eggs. But we're wearing that because it's kind of colorful, Easter colory. So that's all good. Got my shot today, Tim. That's good news.
Nice. Good for you. Congratulations.
Round one for me. And you, have you gotten your shots yet?
No shots yet. I'm just letting the old people like you get yours first.
Oh, you're that next wave that starts on April Fool's Day. So they let the people come in for April Fools, which is good. That's all right. That's good news. I have something kind of a little bit special going on other than the great guests we have. We have Chief Jim Heavey will be our first guest, and then Patti Felice will be our second guest. And I do have some interesting good news. During the course of this broadcast, I have a deal pending. As you might know, Tim, and I think you do know, and others might know, I am the world's largest uranium broker. And it just so happened that after market hours, a Japanese company is thinking about selling to a Canadian company, and we're getting close to doing the deal. And just as we were getting ready for the show, they had said we're almost lined up and almost ready to go and pull the trigger. Each of these parties don't know the other side. So I hope the people in Canada and the people in Japan are not watching, because then they would know that it was the Canadian counterparty and the Japanese counterparty. So hopefully they're not aware of that. So that's that. But it's good news if we get that done. If we do get it done, I will bring the phone up and talk everyone through an actual uranium deal. That would be fun and educational.
All right.
All right.
That sounds very, very exciting.
Well, hopefully we can get there. Let me get ready the phone. There it is, and ready to go in case we have that deal. Now, let's bring on a Chief Heavey. If we can bring him on right now, that'd be great.
There he is.
Hello, Chief Heavey. How are you, sir?
Good evening. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Now, I find, Tim, you might as well, but maybe you don't. I don't know. I can't presume that. But basically, I find Chief Heavey one of the most interesting people in the town of Greenwich. He has done so much. He's behind the scenes on a lot of stuff and also in the forefront of many things. He knows everything that's going on. As the chief of police, nothing can be done in his town without him being aware of it. So that kind of scares me and excites me in the same time, which I think is kind of cool. So Jim Heavey is a man of mystery and certainly an interesting man. So we met so many years ago. He was probably 20 or so years ago. He was teaching one of the fire classes, and I was a student, having decided to be a volunteer fireman about 20 years ago. He was teaching one of the classes, and we got to know each other about 20 years ago. So that was great. Now, Jim, you have a bunch of great history of service to the community. And actually, Ralph Mayo, we were talking about you today because Ralph came on the show. He loves the show. And he told me something I didn't know about. But tell me, now, your service, you were in the military. You served our country. Thank you for your service. Tell us a little about your military service, please.
Well, as a military policeman, I started out as a enlisted soldier. And then I commissioned through Army ROTC at Northeastern University. And again, I had a great opportunity for many, many years serving in the reserves, and including overseas assignment, including Desert Shield, Desert Storm, which is coming up on 30 years now, a little over 30 years. So,
wow.
And of course, my son is a cadet at Northeastern as well now, so he's kind of following in the footsteps.
That's fantastic. And after you came back from a military police service, how many years did you spend in the military?
More than 20. So it's all the time. Yeah.
More than 20. Thank you. That's tremendous service. We should all be thankful, and everyone should thank you for that. And that's great. Then you came back and you volunteered your time as a fireman in town. That's where we met, as I just talked about.
Right. I started out in the Eastport Chester Volunteer Fire Company, which was eventually became the Byram Fire Department when I was 16 on the ambulance and as a volunteer fireman. And then went off to the Army and then to college, but continued to be active as a volunteer whenever I was home. And I continued to be an active volunteer in Glenville, where I had the honor to have a couple of different positions there while I was before I became the police chief, and they wouldn't let me wear that. They reduced the number of hats I was allowed to wear.
Well, I guess they want you to kind of focus because that job in itself. How many police officers are there in the town of Greenwich that report to you?
Well, right now we have 152 full-time officers, and we have about 30 special police officers. Special police officers are mostly made up of our officers who have retired but decided to stay affiliated with the department. And what they do is they provide a number of volunteer hours every month to the town. And this also gives them an opportunity to help augment some of the side work that's required in town for traffic and whatnot. But right now we have 4 officers in training. It takes about almost a full year to get certified as a police officer. From the day they get sworn in, they go to the academy for 6 months. Of course, during the pandemic, it's been a little different. The 3 of the recruits spent the last 2 months in my conference room online doing their classes, and they're in their cadet uniforms and doing as best they can to simulate the academy lifestyle. But now they're off at the academy, and then we have 1 officer in field training. So after 6 months at the academy, they have to do 12 weeks in kind of on-the-job training in a police car with a specially trained officer who's a field training officer. And once they get through that 12 weeks, so almost a full year before they actually get to go out on the road by themselves. So it's pretty intense. And that's only after about a year of background checks and testing to get them just to the point where they get sworn in by the police commissioner.
Oh, cool. Now, Ralph Mayo did slip this in today that you guys worked together for a little while at Greenwich High School. Is that correct?
Right. Northeastern University has always appreciated, they have a co-op program where you work while you're going to school. And one of the several different jobs I had, but I did work as an intern at Greenwich High School in the student activities office. And it's amazing to me that some lunch periods in the student center, it was just Ralph and I and a couple thousand students. And now there's security staff and there's a student activities staff, and they assign teachers there. And so there's a lot, and they have cameras and lots of 2 school resource officers. But we handle all of that, just Ralph and I. So I guess it prepared us for the jobs we would later have. So.
I guess you guys, just the 2 of you monitoring that giant cafeteria. Wow, that'd be a lot of work. I would assume, not that I think this is the case, but maybe some kids might have gotten away with a thing or 2 back then.
It was probably a little easier for sure. Now it's a lot less so. But it's a great environment. Both my children are graduates of the high school, and I think it's a great place. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've sent over our kids, all 4 of our kids. We still have 1 in school now, and we have a foster child as well who's attending the high school. So we certainly support the schools. Well, certainly as a Board of Ed member, I guess I must. I do spend a lot of time with the school stuff, and I'm so proud of our schools. I'm so proud of all the stuff that, being involved recently. Going back about 2.5 years, maybe when Steve Walco invited me to get involved in town politics, and I accepted the challenge. And just meeting all the people, getting to know. I knew you a little bit from just the interaction we did, because the tiny bit of service compared to your service, working for the Amadrone Fire Company, was I met a whole bunch of great people, but it was just a little bit of involvement. But now involved in the politics, the hundreds of people that make the town work, like yourself and Freddie and all the people that just keep the whole town running. It's a great bunch of people, a bunch of people that really care about the town. That's why we have such a great town. Now, I could imagine in your years, how many years were, refresh me, I think you might have mentioned, how many years were you the police chief?
I'll be chief for 10 years coming in November, and I'll be 35 years as a full-time police officer this May. So it's hard to believe that it's been that long.
Wow. Now, I did prepare you with this, and 2 things, and I jumped the gun in this when I asked you for some local good news, because it's kind of what we do is we try to collect up some good news on the Good News Show, because we don't talk about bad news. And after you give us a little bit of good news, can you give us just 1 or 2 really exciting stories about some positive stuff that you did as the police chief?
Well, again, it's something I feel like I'm part of the community, and that I kind of miss some of the police work, but getting involved with a program that we're going to be doing next month as part with the Red Cross called Sound the Alarm. And our local chapter, the American Red Cross Metro North chapter, is going to do this program during the month of April. And we're going to reach out to the public. I think people, not everybody who says, they're not familiar with Greenwich recognizes that it's not all mansions like Joe Kelly's. There's a couple of smaller houses and people that might not have all the means. But the Sound the Alarm is a program where we're going to put alarms. The fire department, the police department, and GEMS are going to help the Red Cross volunteers install fire alarms in any home that doesn't have one. Every day, 7 people die in the United States from fires in homes that didn't have smoke detectors. So we're going to try to put several hundred smoke detectors in homes that don't have them. I think, again, on the technical side, as you know, I was a fire instructor. A lot of people don't know that a smoke detector has a lifespan of about 10 years. After 10 years, the ionization in the smoke detector becomes weakened, and it really isn't as effective. So it's a good thing to replace those every 10 years. And a carbon monoxide detector is only good for 7 years. So it's really important for people to take note of when they install them. I know I saw a smoke detector recently, and it had a little sticker. It says installed on, and there was a little blank space, and someone had taken a Sharpie and written the ceiling. So that's not really an effective way to keep track of that. But we're really looking forward to it, having that be an opportunity for us to help. And matter of fact, one of the ways we're going to get the word out is the bike unit, which is a unit that we recently reinvigorated over the last year. 4 officers who were assigned to electric bikes. We have pedal bikes as well, but the 4 electric bikes, and they've been helping distribute food to the seniors. So all the seniors who get the drive-up meals on Fridays at the senior center are going to get that flyer. And then also over 400 families get assistance from Neighbor to Neighbor, and they're going to get the flyer in their food distribution that they do on a weekly basis. And we've had some really good positive things with running several food drives at the police station. It's nice to have people come to the station, and we take things out of the car with any number of groups. We've had our community emergency response team, which is volunteers who have been through the Citizens Police Academy. And then, of course, our explorers, which are part of Boy Scouts and the Boy Scouts. We just had a recent positive 280 baskets go to Neighbor to Neighbor, full milk crates. We had at the Old Greenwich Civic Center and at the police station just 2 weeks ago. So that's another real positive thing. And I think people are really craving to get back out and do things, but I think having the opportunity to help others has also been probably helped others get through the pandemic and reduce their isolation. So those are some positive things that are going on. And of course, positive in a way that we've reduced crime, although it's we have to admit that there is crime out there. Auto thefts are down. I think we're up to, unfortunately, 8 cars that have been stolen. And can you think of 2 things that all 8 cars have in common?
I believe I might know the answer to that. They left their keys in it, and the cars were unlocked. And I believe even the cars are actually running.
Right. And unfortunately, we've had one of those 8 cars. This is 8 cars since January 1st. And last year we had 130 cars, and most of them we recovered. Mm-hmm. So it was unnecessary. But in this new group of 8, this class of 21 who donated their cars to a criminal element, one of the victims had their car stolen a second time. So they were part of last year's statistic, and now they're this year's statistic.
And same keys in
not
the
to
car.
Embarrass them, but it's it really would be helpful. And it unfortunately draws a criminal element into town that would otherwise perhaps go somewhere else, which we don't want them to go anywhere, but we don't want them to come to Greenwich. And speaking of that, we have 2 officers. I could really quickly, I know it's so easy for me to be a cheerleader for the PD because the men and women of the Greenwich Police Department do such great work. But Officer Josh Weinstock, who we stole from a PD upstate. There's a couple of towns in the state of Connecticut where I've gotten their best and brightest and drafted them over to the Greenwich team. So those are towns where I have to drive slow. But Officer Weinstock made a motor vehicle stop over the weekend. And it started out with a minor motor vehicle violation, and then the detection of drugs, then turned into risk of injury to a minor because there was a young child in the car, and then recovered a firearm. So took a gun off the street, took a lot of drugs off the street, put a child back into safe custody of their parent, and an excellent call. I think the only thing the officers ever complain about is the amount of paperwork required for something like that. So that was on Saturday. And then on Sunday, Billy O'Connor Billy O'Connor, who's one of our O'Connors. Now we have five O'Connors that work for the police department. Lauren O'Connor is one of the program managers in the chief's office. She's been there 2 years. She had an anniversary last week. But her father-in-law is Sergeant Michael O'Connor, recently retired and now a special officer. Of course, talk about where people start. He started out as a volunteer in the Coscob Fire Company, still a life member. And he has 3 sons. So one of them actually did it the old-fashioned way, took the test and got on the job. And that's Michael Jr. And then Patrick, we stole him from, we don't want to use steal when we talk about the police department. We recruited him from Naugatuck PD. And then the officer we're going to recognize, the O'Connor of the month, I guess, is Billy, who was in Old Saybrook, who we recruited away from Old Saybrook. But about 1:40 this morning, Billy stopped, or not, last night, he stopped a car with 2 juveniles in it, and their story didn't match up. He had seen these 2 juveniles walking earlier in the night, and they were driving in the opposite direction, and they didn't look right. So checking them out, and their stories didn't match up. And we were able to call the owner of the car, who lives in Stanford, who left their keys in the car and unlocked. That we asked, hey, do you know where your car is? Because it stopped in Coscob. So the car had not even been reported stolen yet, and we'd already recovered it and made an arrest and probably found the proceeds of other criminal activity in the car. So those are just 2 good examples of just routine police work in the town of Greenwich.
Excellent. Well, it's always great to hear those good stories, the success we have with our police department, and you must be very proud because everything seems to run very well. There's as you talked about crime in Greenwich, we don't hear a lot about it. Occasionally, when we do hear it, we're surprised at it, and a lot of it is because you guys do such a good job preventing the crime that's a lot of the reasons why that there is very little crime. So, right. And for us, as far as people live in the town, it makes it easier for us to live in a town that there is so little crime.
Well, and part of it is it's a team effort. The community makes the town safe. So it's the police department working in partnership with all the residents. We have a CAP group, the Community and Police Partnership, and it goes back to really early police times. Sir Robert Peel, the police are the public and the public are the police. We have to watch out for our neighbors and recognize things like locking your car is helping your neighbors not get burglarized because the criminal element's not coming into town. And of course, we've been doing that for nearly 125 years. So it's kind of neat. And of course, some people might say, I've been here all that time, or at least I feel like it sometimes, but we're doing a lot of things to celebrate that 125 years of great contributions to making Greenwich a great place to live and work. So.
Oh, fantastic. Well, let's bring Patti in because Patti Felice is from Patti's Portico. She's going to come in now and she's going to ask you, Jim, Chief, if I could call you Chief, sure. A few questions and she'll bring us some good news as well. Then Jim will have you talk about one last thing that you kind of want to talk about to our community, to our public after you answer Patti's questions. So go ahead, Patti, have at him.
Hi, thanks for having me here. And Chief, I so appreciate all your wonderful, first of all, your military service. Thank you for that. And isn't Greenwich rated one of the safest towns in the United States?
Absolutely. We've gotten to be number 1 a couple of times. Usually we're in the top 10. But of course, all those car thefts, I don't know what will be this year. I think we were 3rd or 4th a year for a couple of years, and we were number 1 for a few years. So if everybody could just take their keys in and lock their cars before they go to bed, take this up to try to get used to where I'm looking at the camera, but lock your car, put this up, and make sure you make noise with the car at night so it's secure. It really makes a difference. So.
Yeah. Do you those doorbells, the Ring bells with the cameras?
Sure.
Do you think has that helped you in solving some?
Absolutely. We've used the video from those devices and are shared with others. Can share it with the police department. It was a big news recently that we all have body cameras now on our persons, and but people can now download the video from their Ring cameras to it's called evidence.com, and the Greenwich has their own page. So if there was a break-in at your or a suspicious person in your neighborhood, you can share the video with us, and we can share that with the victim or with other people to see if there's a connection. Some of the cameras are so good you can actually read the plate, and
Wow.
that they've already Ring cameras, and of course I can't endorse anything, but I know of certain residents where I'm speaking from now that might have one of those cameras. So it really is a positive thing. And of course, we also have a thing called Nextdoor, which again can share video on other types of systems like that, where if you have video from your alarm system, we can look at it in the police department and use it as a great investigative tool.
Or we could add a new segment onto the show, bad boy, what you gonna do, and we'll have it for a Greenwich crime. Now, we'll have to talk to Tim about putting a new segment on our show, having all those doorbell cameras things going.
Right.
So,
Sure.
Jim Heavey, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. I've been so excited to get you on the program because, as I said, I find you one of the most interesting people in town. So thanks for that. I look forward to having a beer with you once this sort of lockdown is over and we can socialize in a more comfortable way.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim. We'll see you. Hello, Patti. How are you doing?
Hi, Joe. I'm doing really well. I'm really busy at work.
Oh, busy. Well, this is your time of year, isn't it? When everyone walks in the back of their yard and says, oh, no, look what happened in the wintertime to my nice chair, my nice table, my nice lounge. And then they...
Uh-oh. I don't know what happened.
It wasn't me, I promise. But I'm sure he'll be right back. But yeah, he's going on that. Let me pull him out and then bring him back in, see if that helps. Yeah, he's gonna have to refresh.
Okay.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about the store?
Okay, so I started in Greenwich way back when in the mid-90s, right on the Boston Post Road in the center of all the car dealers, because I was working in an auto body shop. I took over my family business, and I have my master's degree in education. I've always wanted to be a teacher, but my father had a heart attack, and I said, while you recuperate, why don't I just go and answer the phone for you until you come back? And I stayed about 28 years there answering that phone, learning the business. And from that business, refinishing automobiles, I started my business powder coating with Patti's Portico. So I was actually restoring more furniture than cars. So I needed a bigger space, and I took a space where I am now in Portchester, and it's working out really well. COVID, people are spending more time at home and looking at that nasty, rusty furniture, and they're calling me. And, one interesting thing is this season and last season, men were calling me. Usually it's the women of the household, but the men were calling because they were sitting out there and they say, I'm having my deck redone or, refinished, whatever. And this furniture is looking pretty bad. And they really love it. It's comfortable. It's old. It has value. So I, give them a quote and they pick their colors. And there's so many different colors in the powder coating world. And we restore it for them. It was COVID friendly because we're contactless pickup and delivery. We don't really talk to anyone except on the phone. So, but now that it's easing up a little bit, people are coming in, and Joe came in and he had a chair that had a sling that ripped. So we're going to replace that for you. And the funny thing, 3 weeks ago, I think I can say this, Martha Stewart walked through my door.
Nice.
I know. And she was so nice. And she said, I've got 2 truckloads behind me, and I want you to restore my iron furniture that I picked up off my neighbor who had passed away. And it was really nice pieces, but it was black. And she wanted a nice, Martha Stewart, softer colored gray. So, we're all excited because, she's going to put us on her blog, and I don't know what's going to happen then. I probably won't ever have to advertise again.
Now, Patti, did you take a picture of you and her together? I certainly hope you did.
I wanted to, but I didn't. But she did invite me to her farm when the furniture is all done. So for sure, I'm bringing a photographer with me because, that's part of our deal is getting recognized. So, and she told me she had peacocks on her farm, like 20 peacocks or something. So I'm looking forward to that if it ever happens. But we've been working on her pieces, and they're coming out really nicely. It's not, I I love restoration. I love taking things and bringing them back to life, giving them a new purpose. And we've expanded from patio furniture to things like marine parts, automobile parts, restoration parts of old cars, and motorcycle frames, with colors like purple fluorescence and neon colors. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I've been doing it a long time, but I really enjoy getting up, going to work every morning, and I'll do it until I drop.
Well, that's the key to a good business or a good business person, is actually enjoying what they're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really work if you enjoy what you're doing. So it's pleasure. So you're good at it. Your enthusiasm is great when you're there, and you don't just restrict your enthusiasm to your business. You share that with our community as well. I'm sorry my internet went out, but did we talk about your service on the RTM?
Oh no, we didn't get. I'm a newbie there, so it's my really first full year, and I find it fascinating, interesting, and you learn a lot about the mechanics of the town workings, and you meet, like you say, great people, really caring people, and it I love Greenwich. I was born and raised in Greenwich. My mother was born and raised in Greenwich, and I was still living in Greenwich. I was fortunate enough to be able to stay in Greenwich and live in a nice, safe community with my Ring doorbell. But yeah, I find it interesting, and it's a lot of work though. A lot of reading and a lot of research and catching up and talking with people, which is what I like. I'm a people person.
Absolutely.
So I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. I like to give back.
I do love the fact that we were able to connect to who was who. I was struggling because I forgot to bring my mask, so I put my shirt over my head. I had a baseball cap on when I walked to the store, and basically just because a week or two earlier, I had presented something representing the Board of Education into your district for the RTM. And your district thought that I was against you. Really, I was in favor of what you guys.
I got that.
I got attacked by your group. They're all screaming like, "Wait a minute, I'm on your team." But you were nice enough, and you were polite. And a few of them got very enthusiastic, but for the right reasons, because they cared about what they were putting forward. So nice to.
Well, Joe, you care, and it shows.
Absolutely. Well, it's so many people look at that, and this is why when myself and Tim got this show together a little time ago, prior to the election for state representative, it was it was just a self-promoting program because we couldn't get out and see people in public events. So Tim came up with this great idea to actually just put a show together, really about nothing, just talking to people, and because we couldn't really see people publicly, so we did this show to do that. But what it morphed into is because we talked about all positive things in a good way. So it's a show about good news and meeting people, talking to people in our community who do good things. And you're one of those people. You serve our community as a business person. You inspire younger people to understand you can work in businesses that are not traditional. And you certainly execute that in a great way. And plus you serve our community. And what else do you do in our town to mix with our people, to meet with our people?
What else do I do? I'm on Greenwich Avenue a lot, and I the merchants in the store. I'm a member of the chamber, the Greenwich Chamber of Commerce, and I like going in and seeing how everybody's doing, especially during COVID, and supporting them and encouraging other people to support our businesses, our restaurants. God love them; they are really hanging in there. And now with the warmer weather coming in, I love walking down it's so beautiful walking down the avenue, especially at night with all the lights and the festivity, the music. Greenwich is just such a beautiful place to be part of. And of course, needless to say, raise children. I raised my son here, and he went to Greenwich High School, and he's moving from Manhattan because of COVID into Greenwich finally, after 15 years. I've been trying to get him. He's married with I have my little granddaughter who's 4 years old, and I want her to go to the Greenwich schools and have access to the beaches and the tennis courts and everything that Greenwich has to offer. I just can't wait for him to do that. They're Broadway people. He's a lighting designer, and his wife's a performer in Aladdin. So needless to say, Broadway's dark, but he's still working on TV. But he's going to renovate my dad's house that I was brought up in, and turn it into, his place to be, he said, forever. So I hope to get him involved in the town politics. He'd be really good.
I did promise early on. I just got right as we're talking. Now my internet went down, so we had a lot
Yes.
show. We have that deal that I talked about, the uranium deal. We
Yes.
just traded 100,000 pounds of uranium to a Canadian. A Japanese company sold 100,000 pounds of uranium to a Canadian company. So I just executed that deal right now as I'm sitting here.
Wow.
Confirming both sides. So it's good news right across the board. We had a great show. We had great guests. We had a deal done. So actually, we're making some money while here. Chief Heavey's back, and what could be better than what's going on right now? This is absolutely perfect. This is the best show ever. This is the best conclusion. This is fantastic. Tim, what do you got, Tim, for us? What do you got to end our day here?
Well, since you just did the deal, I think we should all meet at when they open the bottom of the avenue and everybody gets to play around outside. You're going to come down and buy us all a drink, right, Joe? Because you just closed this big deal.
Yes, I'm so looking forward to that. That's going to be good. And with company, as long as I'll try to bring a client along, because now when you run a bar tab or a restaurant tab, according to my accountant anyway, that you can write that off the top line of your income if you have a client somewhere near. So I'll make sure I bring some sort of uranium client near, and that way we could all have drinks on my company. It'll be great.
Sounds good.
Sounds perfect.
That's good.
Fantastic. Well, thanks everybody for joining me tonight, and Jim for joining us tonight, and Patti, thank you, Jim,
Thank
Chief,
you.
Jim,
Well, it was a lot.
and we'll look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks very much. We'll see you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.